guys aren't ever getting out of here. What? This is, yep, you called it. Or I did, at least. This will be 8763. Not 80. Yeah, it is 8763. Crackasaurus Rex 6. Crackanova 3. The Fuxi Arrangement and the Hermetic Tree of Life. I started to go over the Fuxi Arrangement in the last video, and I will continue to do so right now. But this is the other diagram I was wanting to just quickly No. We're just recapping the obvious. This is the Tree of Life with the 3 regions. This is of the Hermetic Kabbalah. Ein Sof, Ar. And I just say, why not attribute the Father, Mother, Child there too, as the principles of total beyondness and withoutness, the principle of limitness, as cognate with the Chinese Wu Ji, and then Ein Sof Ar, limitless light, and then the Ein Sof Ar eventually, wouldn't you know it, coagulates down into the Pneuma Hagion. The unity of the Holy Spirit is the number 1. And that's representative of a universe of space-time being born using the symbolism of the Big Bang. It would be the energy E, and then the hidden energy, the unitary energy of the MC squared, because the MC squared gets birthed right at that point, but the oneness, the true unity is a bit beyond that. It's from whence all derives. It's, as I said, a yod, a divine yod. You can imagine a divine white yod, which is also the white perpendicular sign at the very fabric of whatever creationary space your mind is presently imagining. Well, at the very center thereof says Wizard Ya Owen. From above, there is a white yod of pure light. At the center thereof of whatever you're thinking of. Sucker. Well, just suck on a lollipop and let's continue. Here we go. Hadit Nuit Horpar Krat. Ein Sof Ar. And then the Ein Sof Ar coagulates down to the Pneuma Hagion, the Holy Spirit. And that's a unitary coagulation of the white bindu that immediately precedes creation. And then the number 2 of creation is symbolized by what is so called the taijitu. And 2, the last 2 letters, TU, means symbol. So it's actually the taiji symbol in quotations. So the taiji, which is the great distinction of the 2 opposites. Great so-called perhaps because it's the first distinction beyond from the unity, even though it's in a wonderful love under will mid-state wonderment of beingness, where the father and mother exist harmoniously and in complete accord. As I say, in accord with the ultimate formula of quotations, love under will, quotations. So where if you imagine those words on a t-shirt, the top word would be will and the bottom word would be love. So quite literally you will have the adumbration to will love. All right, there you go. That's pretty simple stuff. That's right at the taijitu. And then the taijitu, not really pictured within this schema of the Tree of Life, but the Fuxi Arrangement, as I was trying to get to a little bit sooner than this, but right after that number 2 right there are the 4 bigrams of the binary system, representing the 4 pure elements. They're not numbered, just as the 16 court cards of the elemental counter changes of the minor arcana are not numbered. It's the same gist of kind of phase space, phases, rather than concrete spheres or globules of beingness that begin to be numbered, to begin to be assigned a concrete number, is the actual logic. You have the unity of the number 1, which is above the head. You have the taijitu of Chokmah as wisdom, which is the third eye chakra. You have the throat chakra of the number 3 as Vishuddha, and that's where, by this system, the like kind of the magic of the planets. They're magic. They're supposed to be dynamic, magical centers. They're not the taijitu of like wonderful equilibrium still, but and they're not the 4 elements of unnumbered pranic beatitude and purity still, because they're above the Vishuddha chakra, which gets translated as purity. So they're quite pranic and spiritual, the 4 elements. Excuse me. Okay. And then with the numbers 3 through 10, the sphericality, because the 3 through 10 actually represent the 8 trigrams of the Yi Jing and the binary system, they're that next level beyond the 4 elements as the cardinal directions. The 8 trigrams are actually in what are called the secondary intercalary directions, such as south-southwest and south-southeast, etc. We will see all this in the next diagram. Get hotcha, hotcha. Get hotcha, hotcha. All right. Numa Agion. Ein Safar. Ein Sof. Ein. I think we got it all, because the 3 through 10 here are the 8 trigrams of the Yi Jing. And you just take these 8 trigrams right here as the numbers 3 through 10. And we're going to take those 8 trigrams over to the Fuxi diagram. So we got the numbers 1 and 2. That's number 1 is just the very center of any space. It's really simple. It's just the center, and it's also, as the Pneuma Hagion principle, it's the total unity that precedes all division. So it's actually everything whatsoever, but the human mind loves to separate, like to begin with. So it usually doesn't see that precedent unity, much less the hidden trinity that is ciphered to be within the number 0. But this is the correct philosophical system when you just combine the Hermetic Kabbalah with the binary system. And that's why this series of talks right here is called the Fuxi Arrangement and the Tree of Life, because that is to say the binary system and the Kabbalah. Same thing. So yeah, let's keep her going, because we're making really we are making philosophical headway, new philosophical headway, believe it or not, here. So we're gonna switch right here. I think the student, you want me to roll? 11. That's pretty magic. That's magic. The student has pretty much comprehended what I've been saying in this diagram as of now. Horpar Crap. Love that, man. 143 in Syro English. Yep, we got it. So this is the Fuxi Arrangement, and I just went way out to the 64 hexagrams, and you students will probably not even believe this from the future, but the 16 tetragrams and the 32 pentagrams of the Yi Jing, and that is to say the binary system, have never thought to be depicted or drawn out, and especially to be given coherent symbology to, that I have seen as of yet. And I did this in 2002, I believe. So I wanted to actually make this a kind of alternate diagram to the common martial arts diagram. And as I pointed out in a previous video, but let me first kind of sink in the last Tree of Life diagram. The entire Ain region exists prior to the bindu, and the bindu is the center of every circle. And you see how I have kind of drawn a bindu there, which is just a black dot right in the center of the circle. So that's the number 1, and then those 2 swirls are the number 2. And I kind of want to stress, I always want to stress and be a little bit deconstructionist on this point, that everything was all thought out right to begin with. Not true. Not true with the Kabbalah. It was vaguely thought of as 10 emanations from God. So kind of a numerico religious type of skeletonic structure that was not standardized, as just a new student to the Hermetic Kabbalah may first think. Those were they got standardized as 10 into their name, into their standard names over quite a few number of years. They were kind of vague emanations, maybe vertical dissensions, and then not until like 1500 does the common graph that I showed you, minus a few additions of mine, begin to take shape. So I keep wanting to harp upon the point of keep thinking about how things evolve, how ideas evolve. Ideas just don't come out of nowhere. They usually are grounded in a foundation, and we can trace those usually. We can trace the history. And so doing that really helps the early mentality of the adept, because it gets it out of fundamentalism of any kind, a set way of thinking, which is really helpful, because you're at your most dense mentally at a young age. Believe it or not, you're less open to high philosophical concepts and deep understandings, because you've not really churned the taijitu and not united as holy with the Holy Spirit as an older person with a meditative way of life may have. So you always want to respect practices and each individual's holiness, and keep open, of course, to all that. So, so never really pictured before. You see the 8 trigrams there. Those are common. Everybody should know those. You should know the 4 bigrams and the 8 trigrams from reading a few works classic works on the Yi Jing, the Book of Changes, the Chinese Book of Changes, the oracular divination system. But see, beyond these 8 trigrams, which I began to write in a smaller pen, are the 16 tetragrams, which are the elemental counter changes, and that is to say, the 16 court cards of the minor arcana and the 16 geomantic figures of geomancy. But they're just given their Yi Jing like diagrammatic format, with the solid and broken line rather than the 1 dot and 2 dot pictograms of points, more points. It's just you can compare those where the 2 broken lines of the yin equal the 2 dots of a geomantic gram, and then the solid line of the Yi Jing equals a point of, or a dot of geomancy. So it's just really simple, just to exactly parallel their gram structures is what I'm saying. You don't even have to get into any symbolism at all. Just correlate the gram structures. That's never even been done. It's amazing that how far away everybody like shirks from logic, from just straight up logic in regard to the binary system. Because I can go through it again. You got the Chinese working with the 4 bigrams and the 8 trigrams a bit. And then you got the geomancy people that began in Africa, working with the 16 geomantic figures, and then later those 16 binary system figures right outside the 8 trigrams, the next outer level on the Fuxi arrangement. Those also correspond to the 16 court cards of the minor arcana when there's 4 elemental suits, which playing cards and then the tarot developed into. So it's great. It all correlates together wonderfully. And then, okay, the next outer level beyond the 16 court cards and the 16 geomantic figures here are the 32 pentagrams of the I Ching and the binary system, and those represent the pip cards 3 through 10 of the minor arcana. So there's 32 of them here, starting with this one. This would be the 3 of Wands, because it's Saturn of fire. See this fire bigram? Right at the bottom of this pentagram. It's called a pentagram because it has 5 lines. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then at the bottom, you see this fire bigram. And that's one of the 4 bigrams, because it's the elements go fire, air, water, earth in the binary system. And so the south and summer represents fire, and then east and air represents the air bigram. But we haven't shown it's right here. I'll get there if you want. It's that air. Well, you can see it right here. That's the pure air bigram. That's the pure fire bigram. But we were going over this, which is how that fire bigram and trigram begins with the wands suit of minor arcana cards. This is the 3 of Wands right here, and this is the 4 of Wands. This is the 5 of Wands, and this is the 6 of Wands, as like a son of fire. So let me try to get into this a little bit, just to point one out. This is son of fire. This would be 6 of fire. 6 of Wands, because you got the sun trigram above the fire bigram. So we got 6 of Wands right here. Okay, so the number system doesn't get any deeper than that. It ends with the minor arcana, and all this is the 6 of Wands right there. It morphs into Jupiter of Saturn, and whoa. Uh-oh, spaghetti. Oh, I noticed a big problem here. I thought I just made one little mistake, but man, I kind of screwed this up. These should all be backwards. It's not. It's all correct within the pentagrams. These hexagrams are not right. It should be. It should be backwards. See how this is wrong right here. Good thing I got into it a little bit. Anyway, we'll still go on. We can, a normal common sense person will be able to make the changes that I tell you. But this is Son of Fire. That's because that's the, what is it, the fourth trigram sequentially within the trigrams? But it's equal to Tiferet as the number 6. Because Saturn starts with 3, the number 3. And I got this right here. This is 3 of Wands, 4 of Wands, 5 of Wands, 6 of Wands, 7 of Wands, 8 of Wands, 9 of Wands, 10 of Wands. But unfortunately, when I drew the hexagrams, I did it backwards, so where this should be all yang lines. Okay, this should be Saturn of fire, Jupiter of fire, Mars of fire, Sun of fire, Venus of fire, Mercury of fire, Moon of fire, and Earth of, Mercury, Moon, and planetary Earth. Not of fire, but of Saturn. So I'm still getting this wrong. Okay, so the outer 64 hexagrams of the binary system in Yijing. And what is this? If we count from center, 1, 2, these aren't numbered. But anyway, we're just numbering the levels of the outer circles of the binary system right now. It's a good practice. We'll get into my mistake in a second. So right here, right at the center, is, you could say, the first level, and it is actually the number 1. And then you have this taijitu whirling principle of the two opposites, and that's the number 2. So that is kind of pretty much the second hierarchical level of this binary system. You could imagine it as a vertical pyramid, kind of like a vertical Sri Yantra. I don't know if I should show you mine. No, I'll leave it out. And then, so these 4 elements will be the 3rd level of this system, and then the 8 trigrams will be the 4th. Then the 16 tetragrams will be the 5th, and then the 32 pentagrams will be the 6th, and then right on the outer circle, the 64 hexagrams are the 7th. So it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we have 7 major levels to the Fuxi arrangement when you include the bindu as the first level, which you probably should, and that's the way it will. It'll be like a pearl or a sphere atop a 3D pyramid, which some will know. The Sri Yantra is the most popular mandala that is depicted 3-dimensionally in a pyramid form, and you can do the same thing with this binary system, as I show you, where all these grams could be kind of mapped out on an elegantly designed 3-dimensional pyramid, because they're around in this circle right here. So you can easily think of artistic ways to depict these three-dimensionally, because they're just emanations from the center point out into 64 directions. And they're all ultimately correlated to the 4 directions, because that's one of the divisions. So did I show this enough? 19, that's superb. So the 64 outer Yijing hexagrams are just the 64 planetary counterchanges. And those are beautiful, because the planets are the most magical. There's this alchemical picture that I reference where the alchemist is kind of stowing the fire a little bit, but it's not pictured as just a fire. There's a salamander going kind of wild in the fire. That's like a fire salamander, and the alchemist is kind of poking it. So it's a pretty cool image. But what's important is that salamander has like 7 stars on its spine, and that's the mental consciousness, symbolic consciousness of kind of the adept alchemists showing through, symbolizing those the planetary magic of the numbers 3 through 10 as represented upon the body as the chakras, it turns out. Because those numbers, those 3 through 10 as the 8 trigrams, and the number 8, it's 8, the principle of 8 divisions itself. Well, the mind can separate those 8 divisions out pretty good. It's like starts to be, oh, okay, there's a lot going on here, as opposed to just the 4 directions. It doesn't really recognize that as too great of a multiplicity, if we can just kind of sum up what I mean here. The mind first starts to separate out the 8 divisions as opposed to the 4 directions. If you think of 8 things as opposed to kind of 4 things separated out, you'll kind of think of those 4 things as kind of one thing a little bit more than the 8 things, which you'll kind of pluralize to a greater extent, which is common. But my point is, the like kind of occult symbolism is traditionally is that the 4 divisions are the 4 elements, which are kind of like great spaces, like the Great Sea, a big fire, a bunch of earth, like the whole, bunch of ground, and then the entire sky is the air. So it's like they're not really like little small circles, is what I'm saying. But once the mind begins to comprehend the number 8, it says, whoa, those things are all separate now. And I bet they're all just spheres. And that's kind of how they get separated upon the body as the 8 lower chakras, beginning with the throat chakra. That's the beginning of the first planetary correlated chakra, and it's correlated to Saturn, which was in ancient times the planet that was farthest from the Earth and thereby closest to the deity as you got past the zodiac and the fixed stars, etc. into the heavenly, like the dais. Directly God, the God plane. I can say I think it was just basically a 1 through 10 almost. There were some angelic realms first that separated God from kind of Saturn, but I don't want to state anything specific because I'm not sure that was really hammered out specifically. So I just stay away from that a little bit. Anyway, I pretty much almost totally covered it. But let me say why I chose to create the alternate diagram of the taijitu here. This is actually the correct version of the taijitu, but not as far as the actual symbol of the taijitu. I intentionally made that a little bit alternative. That's where a lot of creativity can take place, and I want to stress that originally there was like a little bit of a bindu theorized as this cropped up in Taoist symbolism. The original taijitu had a bit of a bindu to it, as I recall. And then the original taijitu could have been, I don't quite recall, but it can just be this very basic glyph of two swirling motions, and actually it just represents the two opposites conjoined together. So there's quite a bit of freedom, but when you put it upon the Fuxi arrangement, I think you do want to stress its roundness, because together with the bindu, it represents the spirit part of the circle, where then you have the four directions as the four elements, which we'll get into, right? Well, the last thing I want to note is, you see how I didn't draw the yin swirl as black. That's a pretty early innovation by the Taoist originators of the taijitu symbol. But the eyes are a pretty late that you see in most common martial arts glyphs. You see the taijitu symbol, but the two fishes, so-called, the two swirls kind of became associated with a white fish and a black fish, and then two eyes were created upon those fish, with the symbol being like it was black. There was a white. The vertical swirl was white, and the vertical swirl. The top swirl was white, and the bottom swirl was black. But at the center of the top white swirl, there was a black dot that symbolized, at the very height of the summer heat, is the beginning of the dissension into winter. So right at the very peak of the summer fun and sun, we have the beginnings of the descent into winter, kind of like a buzzkill there. But it's the opposite is true when you consider the winter. Right at the height of winter, we have the very beginnings of the hopes that it will be coming warmer and that everything will begin to bloom again. So that's how the two subphases of the two opposites of that little philosophy became to be by just putting in some eyes to the fish that were opposite the normal colors of the broad, suave brushstrokes of the taijitu symbol, the white and the black. So where you have a black eye as the eye of the white fish and a white eye as the eye of the black fish. So it's optional. It's totally optional symbolism. But I put it not, it's usually always vertical. Those two dots are always placed vertical upon the symbol. I didn't place them vertical here intentionally because the correct way to map the 8 trigrams of the binary system are, as I've said before, in the secondary intercalary directions, such as south-southwest and south-southeast. So I, in my depiction here, tried to match those eyes up of the fish with the all yang trigram and all yin trigram, which I place in the secondary intercalary direction of south-southwest and north-northeast. So these are, I want to note that this these actual glyphs, one has to kind of circulate. So this, see how the trigram, like within my drawing, we see how this trigram of Saturn, you have to go around like this. This is the only real way to draw these glyphs correctly, is if you just go right around the center and act like your perspective is the center of the circle, and just keep going around like this to draw the correct glyphs. It's really the only way to do it. But then you stop right here at the this is the beginning of spring right here, as spring begins at the spring equinox. So you begin right here, and everything increases. And I did get this right. I got Saturn, Jupiter, Mars, Sun, Venus, Mercury, Moon, and Earth with these hexagrams. So that's cool. Because well, I've noted I messed some of them up in this diagram. But you can take this. And then... no, I actually screwed that up. I can't get that right. No, I screwed it up. It shouldn't do that. It should be actually Earth. It should be, oh, that's the Earth thing. Right here. This should actually be, this should be the actual, very slight, this should be Earth, planetary Earth of Sun. It shouldn't be Saturn of Sun. So I got all of this wrong, because it should, from the south and east quarters, I got the south and east quarters wrong. As far as the Yijing hexagrams, but I got the west and north hexagrams right. So this is the beginning of the fall equinox here, this trigram, this Venus trigram, if I can get it right in the center, kind of, that kind of trigram there. But here's the hexagram. This would be Saturn of Venus, Jupiter of Venus, Mars of Venus, Sun of Venus, Venus of Venus, Mercury of Venus, Moon of Venus, and planetary Earth of Venus. So all of those are correct with the as far as my this is the western quarter and the northern quarter right here. Those should be, yes, all correct. Ending with the all yin hexagram. Sorry about this, but here it is. The all yin hexagram here. So that's the north. That's right before the fall equinox. Right before the spring equinox. This stuff's kind of hard. It's just, all you have to do is keep correcting yourself, but it's kind of frustrating. And we have the 10 of coins right here. Here's the 10 of coins. All yin, the all yin pentagram. And then here we have the Princess of Coins as Earth of Earth. This is planetary Earth of Earth. This is just elemental Earth of Earth. And then here's the planetary Earth trigram. And this is the Earth bigram. And this would be the yin part of the taijitu. And then here's the bindu. That's it. So, one last thing I will cover. How the minor arcana fits in with this diagram. Because as I say, this is more true to form than the tree of life, as far as what the tree of life is meant to symbolize, which is the progression of unity from heaven to earth. It's a good way to describe it. So here's the first level of the binary system, and that's Keter. Here's the second level of the binary system, and that is the taijitu as Hokmah. And here is the third level of the binary system, and these are, this is an unnumbered phase space of the tree of life. It just basically fails to symbolize this level of the binary system. We see it right here, it's the 4 elements. The tree of life, they just don't get numbered. So the tree of life is normally taught, where the number 3 is Binah, is Saturn. Well, we're not there yet. It's right. It's like right here. This is Binah, Saturn, right here. So it goes. So the way the number system coincides with the binary system, it's amazingly magical, and it's holy, and it'll basically it'll probably always be regarded as magical and holy, because that's kind of what it is. But its numinosity may be able to wear off, but I'm having a great amount of fun just describing it, because it's so simple once you understand it, and it's all you really need to grasp the most wonderful comprehension of how unity is mapped to evolve into multiplicity by a wide range of symbolism that all fits together, and that's the cool thing of how everything kind of fits together within these symbol sets. So it's pretty neat. So here we go. So this is the tree. This is how the normal tree of life is numbered as kind of correlated to the binary system. So just this bindu right here is the 1 of Keter, and then the taijitu symbol of the two opposites is hokma. And then the next outer level, that's basically the third level of the binary system, because the first level is the point, as the bindu. The second level is the hokma area of the taijitu. So the third level of the binary system are the four elements of the four cardinal directions. But they're not given number like Keter and Hokmah was, as the sefirot 1 and 2. They're just kind of left unnumbered as pranic beingnesses beyond the taijitu. We might still have a little bit of explaining to do as far as the four elemental bigrams here, but that's how the system goes. It doesn't go all into one quadrant like all fire. So you're going to have the bindu and the taijitu, and then you're going to have the four elements, but they do go in sequence: fire, air, water, earth, as south, east, west, north. So each level completes its permutation around in the circle, like that. So each level of the circle completes before the next level. It's kind of like an electron. The electron, but if you imagine an electron that goes around the entire atom in a certain way before it jumps to the next level, that's exactly what the binary system does. And it's basically that pattern that nobody really realized was present, but that's actually what the tree of life is. The tree of life is Keter, Hokmah is the taijitu. The elements are not numbered within the tree of life, but they exist between Hokmah and Binah. The number 3 starts to manifest in this trigram of Saturn with the planets. And that's the magic thing. That's the major magic correlation that humanity was able to accomplish basically in 1100 AD in an Arabic publication. The planets first became correctly attributed to the magic squares, numbers 3 through 9, where the math, a 3 by 3 square of 9 cells, for instance, was correlated to the planet Saturn. So a 4 by 4 cell was correlated to the planet Jupiter, a 5 by 5 cell was correlated to the planet Mars, a 6 by 6 cell was correlated to the planet Sun, a 7 by cell was correlated to the planet Venus, an 8 by 8 cell was correlated to the planet Mercury, a 9 cell was correlated to the planet Moon. And as such, those numbers, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, became directly correlated to the planets. And it wasn't made a big deal of, per se. I mean, it kind of was, but it was just kind of in the back of people's heads, more or less. But that becomes the dominant system symbolism, because number itself is the most efficient way to categorize, quote in quotations, division. That's just as simple as that. Number is the best way to categorize division. And so, as it turns out, the number series 1 through 10 really takes on a magical shape and symbolism. So where you got the 1 as the point, it's just at the center of every mandala. It's just the center principle itself. And then the number 2 are both the opposites of male and female, and they're swirling around in what is called the equation love under will. They're willing love harmoniously. It's kind of like the sky above the forest, the blue sky above the green forest. It's a real natural vibration. Love under will. It's at the Ajna chakra of the left and right brain, where the left is will and the right is love, where you go father, mother right there. So it's kind of a quite unitary. Mid-state unity, quotations, I call it a mid-state unity because it's between the one of the centermost dot of the circle and the first outer directions of the circle. That taijitu, it's right at that edge of it ends right at the edge of what we call circularity and what is attributed to the spirit area of the circle. And then right after the spirit area, you have the south direction of fire, the fire bigram. So you have elemental fire. Right after the first division after the taijitu, elemental fire. In case I didn't make that clear, it's pretty dang clear. It's just fire, air, water, earth. And then right after fire, air, water, earth, as the 4 directions, we got Saturn, Jupiter, Mars, Sun, Venus, Mercury, Moon, planetary Earth. So it's just the 8 planets. And that was probably a little hard to grasp because traditionally there's only 7 planets plus the Earth. So we're the little Earthlings looking up at the 7 planets, but so it's not commonly, so they're not, it's not in horoscopes. They don't appear in horoscopes, or planetary Earth doesn't appear in horoscopes, obviously. So the only way most people think about it is within the philosophical framework of the Kabbalistic tree of life as Malkut, the kingdom of Earth, and then in the more ancient geocentric Ptolemaic order of the planets, where you have these 7 planets going vertically down from Saturn, Jupiter, Mars, Sun, Venus, Mercury, Moon, and then right after the Moon, you of course have the planet Earth. So the symbolism is out there, but it just got, planetary Earth got lost a little bit until the resurgence of the planets being correlated upon the numbers of the tree of life. So where it made it obvious that Malkut, as the number 10 was correlated to planetary Earth, that started to bring the magic square, the 10 by 10 magic square, to 4 again. So right here is the entire system, and anybody should be able to kind of work it out there for themselves. The main thing I wanted to show is you see how the 4 elemental bigrams are at the cardinal directions in this graph. That is the correct, that is the only correct placement and furthermore they should be represented on any depiction of the taijitu that also includes the 8 trigrams. You want me to roll on that? All right, 5. That's not true. You don't have to include the 4 bigrams on every rendition of the taijitu, but at least put the trigrams in this order of the secondary intercalary directions. You can put the 2 eyes vertical if you wish, but put the trigrams like this. In some semblance of this pattern. So where they're not, so where the all yang trigram right here, don't put it right here, right at the center, as is common. And then they put this one right at that south east quadrant, right on that vertice. That's not correct. So just don't do that, and that will preserve the true magic of the taijitu symbol they're wishing to convey. It's really actually a little bit more dynamic if we can get the some good art going, incorporating these symbols. It'd be great. All right, let me see if we roll it out here. 9, not quite. But I think I did cover everything. Might be some magic missing or something like that. Okay, so yeah, the origin of the taijitu, it was just swirls, and there's a little bit of variation in philosophy, because the wuji, meaning limitlessness, is just the circle. So it's just the circle without any distinction of these 2 opposites. But that's not actually, not on this graph. It's kind of like a standalone diagram. The wuji is the principle of no limit, because it means without ridgepole. And so it means without rooftop, no top to the roof, and that's the principle of limitlessness. But that's the Ein Sof. And that was depicted as just a circle, a black calligraphic circle, where you have a white upon a white background, so where the white background is unseparated except for this black, the hieroglyph of a black circle. A calligraphic stroke of a black circle. I have to be specific so that you get the exact image. As almost undifferentiated as you can get is just a calligraphic black circle, and then with nothing else differentiated. So that's pretty much it. And so that as the wuji, that would be Ein Sof. So that circle would get almost like filled in with golden light. That would be infinite golden light. Would be the Ein Sofar as the child. See, the really simple visualization there is just the Divine Mother as the Vesica Pisces, giving birth to the divine child. And there's extant Christian iconography showing the divine Christ within the Vesica Pisces as symbolic of the mother's embrace and womb, and also the mother symbolized the church a little bit in Christianity. So it would basically be the child within the mother's womb, and with it being implicit that the mother there represented the entirety of the universe and the starry universe. So it's a very Noetian symbol at the very height, because it's the infinitely large mother, and then the infinitely large consciousness of the divine son, the divine child, whatever particular name you give that. So, remember I was harping upon the yod of the Pneuma Hagion? It's kind of like a white tear in space-time, you can imagine it as. That's the will, that's the adept's will, and he doesn't let his truth falter. It's kind of like the triangle and pyramid where the base equals its height, the erect sushumna channel, the erect spine of the adept. That keeps the Pneuma Hagion flowing. That's why, like, dot meditation and pranayama with an erect spine, sitting down nicely, is quite beneficial. So here's the tree of life, and see, now once we've studied the Fuxi arrangement, now you see how these these tarot paths are kind of phony on the tree of life, because how in the heck would you draw those upon the Fuxi arrangement? Because we have paths connecting 1 to 6, and that would be the center bindu to this trigram right here. That's Tiferet on the tree of life. So we'd have a little line going right there, and saying that correlates to the third tarot card as the High Priestess. That's the standard card in the diagram I just showed you that connects the first sefirot of Keter to the sixth sefirot of Tiferet. So, I mean, if you just drew a line here and started drawing lines to those trigrams and drawing lines like connecting a few trigrams, wouldn't look good at all. So that's the major visual argument that you can see, that the traditional paths, the path structure itself upon the tree of life, which is a completely common and standard. There's a few different versions of this, of course. This is the most common Hermetic Kabbalah version, despite a few other correlations I've made. But you see this unique path structure scheme where there's like not really a path separating 3 to 4, nor is there one separating 2 to 5, but about everywhere else. So that kind of creates a nice visual motif, and it did get the job done, and still does. I enjoy it. Anyway, just looking at it. I don't know why, but you know, it's nice, but it just doesn't as truly represent the dissension from heaven to earth as the straight up Fuxi arrangement does. I mean, it kind of does, because it's like from top to bottom. That might be what makes it enjoyable, a kind of from top to bottom gaze that you get. So where the top is heaven and the bottom is earth. just like the sky is more bright and heavenly than the ground, and especially any shaded spot. All right, so we'll do this little heaven to earth reverberation right here now. This is the pure heaven of the bindu. This would be the pure divine centeredness of the Holy Spirit. And then next is the taijitu principle of love under will, love. And that's the spirit part of the circle because it's the center. And now we move to the 4 elemental bigrams. And from heaven to earth, we're still pretty heavenly. Still, we're right in between the numbers 2 and 3. So we're right at the top of the tree of life. And now, what happens is the taijitu, after it splits into the 4 directional bigrams, the 8 sefirot of the tree of life manifest as the 8 trigrams. It's a direct one-to-one parallel. The 8 trigrams of the binary system are the 8 sefirot of the tree of life, from Binah to Malkut. The 8 planets. Simple. And then you have to use symbolism as somehow below the tree of life, but it's just basically the next outer division of the binary system, the next outer ring beyond the 8 planets that are the 8 sefirot of the tree of life. You have the 16 elemental counterchanges that are the 16 tetragrams of the binary system that correlate to the 16 court cards and the 16 figures of geomancy. Simple. It's from heaven to earth. And here's earth. So here's earth is Malkut. That's Malkut right here. That's the kingdom. The number 10 as the 8th trigram. So it's right there. It's the north, right before the spring. What is that? Northeast is the final direction. And then right after the trigrams, like I say, the 16 tetragrams that are the 16 court cards and the 16 geometric figures. And now next are the 32 pentagrams of the binary system, that next outer level. And that's the 3 through 10 pip cards of the minor arcana of each elemental suit. So it'd be like 3 of wands, 4 of wands, 5 of wands, and I show it right here. And I have these right: 3 of wands, 4 of wands, 5 of wands, 6 of wands, etc. That's the minor arcana pip cards. And who would have thought it all correlates like this? So where Saturn is Binah right here, and then you just have the court cards of the tarot and the geometric figures, and now you've got the pip cards 3 through 10 of the minor arcana. It's amazing how it all fits, because it seamlessly unites the tree of life with the minor arcana. And then what the 64 hexagrams are, these aren't shown actually correctly, but they're the planetary counter changes, and they just exist as the next outer level beyond the 32 pentagrams of the binary system, which are the pip cards 3 through 10 of each elemental suit of the minor arcana. So just draw them at the bottom, left, and right of each minor arcana card 3 through 10, and you'll have the 64 hexagrams of the Yi Jing depicted, and you can use those in divinatory practice, and it's going to be amazing. It's like a divinatory super system right here that nobody logically thought out completely, but it all fits together. The Yi Jing, the 16 court cards of the minor arcana, the 16 tetragrams of geomancy, the 16 geomantic figures, the entire minor arcana all fit in with the tree of life seamlessly. Have I made my point, guys? 6. No. Ooh, let me finish this water. You would think I would have, but so, okay, let's do a very step back. Let's step back and look how this entire diagram kind of creates a circle and a bindu. If I look way back here, you can kind of just say, hey, that's just one big white dot. Kind of. If I would have made the background blacker, it could all just be one dot. And I'm saying this truthfully, that this entire thing is just the center bindu of Keter. This is all the unity of Keter right here. Keter is that which does not change. It's the unity. And it's pretty much the work of the adept to be able to perpetuate the will of unity. You kind of have to will unity down here a little bit. And once you circulate your taijitu enough, you become magically able to perpetuate unity. A very healthy and fulfilling divinely inspired, or at least getting some flows going of consciousness. So I don't want to say much more than that. 13, we reach a pretty good point though. So this is all the bindu because the center bindu is right there, and that's the unity of Keter. So from there on, all division can be symbolized by its original unity. That's my major point. That's my major point.